The attic smelled of cedarwood and dust, a scent that brought Alina Martinez back to summer days spent exploring her grandmother's old Arizona ranch. Now, after her grandmother's passing, Alina had returned not for nostalgia but to settle the estate. She hadn't expected to unearth a mystery, certainly not one wrapped in leather and stained in blood. The map was tucked inside an old saddlebag, buried under boxers marked books and kitchen. She would have missed it completely if she hadn't knocked the pile over trying to reach a photo album. The satchel landed with a thud and spilled open, revealing crumbling papers and one strange object that immediately caught her eye. The parchment was stiff, brittle at the edges, and darkened by age. Blood unmistakable stained the bottom right corner in a rusty splash. It was hand-drawn, faded but legible, with symbols she didn't recognize and a red X, deep in the Sierra Estrella Mountains. "Treasure map," she whispered, more amused than serious. She wasn't the kind to chase legends or dig through family lore for buried gold, but something about the markings made her pause. One symbol looked like an arrowhead. Another was a spiral she'd seen before, on a pendant her grandmother always wore but never explained. Alina tucked the map into her bag and headed downstairs, dust still clinging to her jeans. She pulled out her phone and took a picture of the parchment, texting it to her friend Ryan, a local historian and amateur cartographer. His reply came within minutes. "Where the hell did you find that? That's not just any map, that's tied to the lost Apache stronghold legend. That symbol in the corner. It's known as the Eye of the Ancients. The real deal." Her curiosity flared. The legend, if she remembered correctly, told of an Apache warrior who had protected a sacred site hidden deep in the Arizona wilderness. Some said it was filled with artifacts. Others believed it was a burial ground. But all stories agreed on one thing: outsiders were never welcome. Alina hesitated. Her grandmother never mentioned anything about Apache lore or ancient maps. But why would she keep this hidden? And why was it stained in blood? That night, Alina barely slept. Her dreams were wild and fragmented, a desert bathed in moonlight, firelight flickering on painted faces, the echo of distant war cries, and, always, a shadowed figure standing between her and something unknown. The next morning, Ryan called. "I don't want to freak you out," he said, "but I did some digging. That map, there's a legend about a woman who once held it, said to be protected by a warrior spirit who would appear if she got too close to the stronghold." She laughed, nervously. "So now we're mixing ghosts with geography." Ryan didn't laugh back. "Just, be careful. People have gone missing looking for what that map leads to. And if it's real, if it's really tied to Apache heritage, it's not just treasure hunting, it's sacred ground." Despite his warning, the next day Alina packed her hiking boots, water, and the map. She'd grown up hiking these lands. It wasn't like she'd get lost. And if this turned out to be nothing more than a family mystery, at least it'd be closure. She reached the base of the Sierra Estrella range by late afternoon. The sky had turned gold, casting long shadows across the desert floor. As she scanned the terrain, her eyes locked on a ridge that matched the sketch on the map. Her heart beat faster. Suddenly a gust of wind swept past her, warm and dry. But with it came something impossible, a whisper in a language she didn't understand. She turned, but no one was there. Then, on the horizon, a figure emerged, tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in buckskin and feathers, standing impossibly still as if he'd always been part of the land. And he was watching her. Alina froze, the desert heat forgotten. The man on the ridge stood like a statue, his dark eyes fixed on her, unwavering. A breeze stirred his long black hair, and the feathers tied into it fluttered like signals. He held no weapon, but his presence alone felt like a challenge or a warning. She took a cautious step forward. "Hello." No response, just silence, thick and humming, as if the desert itself were holding its breath. She glanced down at the map in her hand. The figure hadn't been there a moment ago, and yet, now he stood precisely where the trail on the parchment seemed to begin. She took another step. "I'm not here to hurt anything," she said, raising her voice slightly. "I just want to understand why my grandmother had this." Still, he didn't speak. Instead, he moved not toward her, but along the ridge, slowly, like a shadow slipping through stone. Without a word, he turned and walked into a narrow canyon between two jagged cliffs. Elena's instincts screamed at her to stop. This was how horror movies began. But her heart, and some deeper, quieter part of her, urged her on. She followed. The canyon swallowed her in silence. the walls towering high on either side. The sun, once blazing, now barely touched the path ahead. Alina could hear the crunch of her boots on dry gravel, the occasional rustle of desert life, and above all, the distant echo of the man's footsteps. He led her deeper into the stone maze until he suddenly stopped. Alina hesitated several paces back, unsure. Then he turned. His voice, when he spoke, was low and firm, with the weight of generations behind it. "You should not have come." Alina blinked. "I didn't mean to. I didn't know this was real. I found the map in my grandmother's attic." His eyes narrowed. "Your grandmother. She lived out here. Her name was Rosa Martinez." The man's expression shifted slightly. Not surprise, but something akin to recognition. He stepped forward slowly, studying her with a gaze that felt like it pierced through time. She was warned. Alina's breath caught. "Warned about what?" "That map does not belong to you," he said. "It was taken. Stolen from sacred hands, in blood." She looked down at the rusty stain on the corner of the parchment. "What happened?" He pointed toward the red X on the map. "That place is not a treasure. It is a resting place. A promise. And those who seek it with greed in their hearts never return." "I'm not looking for gold or artifacts," Alina said. I need to know why she kept this." Why? It mattered to her. He studied her face for a long time. "You carry her blood," he finally said. "But you walk a different path." Alina nodded slowly, unsure if that was a blessing or a curse. "I can take you part of the way," the warrior said, "but after that, you are on your own. If you cross the threshold, you must do so with your soul unburdened." She swallowed. "Who are you?" He looked away, toward the distant mountains. "My name is Taza. I am the last guardian of the stronghold, and I swore an oath to protect it, even from people like you." "Then why help me?" "Because your grandmother once saved my life." Elena's heart skipped. "She did." Taza nodded. "She found me wounded, years ago, when I was being hunted. She gave me shelter, gave me her silence. She never told anyone she saw me. In return, I gave her a warning, and she gave me her word she would never seek the path again." Alina stared at the map in her hand, its bloodstain now heavy with meaning. "She never did," she whispered. "But now she's gone. And she left it behind for me. Or to test you," Taza said. "To see what you would choose." Silence stretched between them. Then, without another word, he turned and began to walk deeper into the canyon. Alina followed. Not because she knew the way, but because the desert was calling, and the past was no longer willing to stay buried. The canyon walls closed in around Alina and Taza as they moved deeper into the heart of the mountains. The sun had dipped lower, painting the sky in streaks of fiery orange and purple. But the shadows only grew longer, colder. Elena's pulse quickened. The air felt charged, almost electric. It wasn't just the desert heat anymore. It was something ancient, something alive. She glanced at Taza, whose face was stoic but alert. His eyes scanned the rocky terrain, every movement precise, like a hawk watching its prey. "This land," Taza said softly, "has been protected by my people for generations, not just because of what it holds, but because it is sacred." Alina nodded. "I understand. But why did my grandmother keep the map if she was warned to stay away?" Taza paused, then looked back at her with something like regret in his gaze. Rosa was not like others. She was trusted, one of few who understood the importance of balance. "When she found me that day, I was gravely wounded. She risked everything to save me. That bond made her a guardian in her own right, even if she never knew it." Alina swallowed, feeling the weight of that legacy pressing down on her. They walked in silence for several minutes until the path opened up to a hidden valley nestled between jagged peaks. Wildflowers dotted the landscape, and a small creek bubbled nearby, its water shimmering in the fading light. "This is the edge of the stronghold," Taza said. "Beyond here lies what few have seen and lived to tell the tale." Alina pulled out the map, tracing the faded lines with her finger. The red X was just beyond the valley. "Why does the map lead here? What exactly is this place?" Taz's eyes darkened. "It is where the Apache warriors hid their most sacred secrets, artifacts that hold the power of our ancestors. Stories carved into stone, and a resting place for those who gave their lives to protect our people." He crouched beside a flat rock and brushed away the dust, revealing faint carvings, symbols like those on the map. Spirals and arrows intertwined. "These markings tell a story," Taza said. "A story of sacrifice, of courage, and of a promise." to keep this land safe from those who would use it for harm. Alina felt a chill despite the warmth around her. And the bloodstain. Taz's gaze flicked back to the map. Blood is the price paid for betrayal and for protection. It reminds us of the lives lost to keep this secret. She looked down at her hands, suddenly aware of how much she didn't know about her grandmother. About this land, and about the man beside her. Why are you risking your life to protect me? She asked quietly. Because Taza said, your grandmother trusted you. And because the stronghold's fate may soon depend on someone who walks in your footsteps. Before she could respond, the ground trembled beneath her boots. A low rumble echoed through the valley. And rocks shifted along the hillside. Taz's eyes snapped toward the sound, sharp and alert. We are not alone. The rumble grew louder, vibrating through Elena's bones. Dust cascaded down from the canyon walls, and the wildflowers bent as if a sudden storm had rolled in. Taz's stance shifted, muscles coiled like a predator, ready to strike. Move, he commanded quietly, grabbing her arm and pulling her behind a large boulder. Elena's heart pounded. She barely understood what was happening but trusted the warrior's instincts. She crouched low, peering around the rock to see the source of the disturbance. From the far end of the valley, a group of men emerged, armed, rough-looking, and determined. Their leader barked orders in a harsh voice that cut through the desert wind. Find the map. Take anything valuable. Leave no witnesses. Elena's breath hitched. They were treasure hunters or worse. People who didn't respect the land, or its history, who saw only gold and profit. Taz's eyes burned with quiet fury. They know about the stronghold. They've come for what is hidden here. She clenched the map tightly, feeling the blood stain like a scar against her palm. We can't let them find it, she said. No, Taza agreed. We must stop them. He looked at her, intense and urgent. You must stay here, hidden. If they see you, it will endanger everything. Alina shook her head. I'm not hiding. This is my family's secret too. Taz's gaze softened, but he was firm. This fight is mine. You need to survive. But before she could argue, a shout rang out. Over here. One of the men had spotted their hiding place. The group moved, quickly, advancing through the rocks, rifles raised. Taza stood and stepped out, his figure commanding the desert like a force of nature. Leave now, he warned, voice steady and cold. This land is protected. The leader sneered. We're here for treasure, not threats. A tense silence fell, the air thick with impending violence. Elena's fingers trembled on the map. Knowing the choice she faced, run or fight alongside, the warrior who had risked everything for her. Suddenly, Taz's eyes flashed. This ends now. The silence shattered as Taza sprang into action. His movements were fluid and precise, years of training and knowledge carried in every step. Alina watched, heart pounding, as he dodged the first rifle shots, disappearing behind jagged rocks. But the hunters were relentless. They fired again and again, the sharp cracks echoing through the canyon. Alina ducked instinctively, clutching the blood-stained map close to her chest. Desperation surged through her. She couldn't just stand by. Gripping a heavy branch nearby, she took a deep breath and moved toward the fight. Taza reappeared, launching himself at one of the men, knocking him off balance. The others turned to face her sudden movement. Get back, Taza shouted, but Alina pushed forward, fueled by a fierce determination she hadn't known she possessed. One hunter lunged at her, but Alina sidestepped, swinging the branch and striking his arm. He cried out, stunned. Taza called out, Alina, no, but she shook her head. I'm not leaving. Their battle continued, a blur of gunfire, shouted commands, and the harsh desert wind. Amid the chaos, Alina noticed something, a small path that led up the ridge, away from the hunters. Follow me. She yelled to Taza. He nodded, understanding her plan. Together, they sprinted toward the narrow trail, dodging bullets and rocks. As they climbed higher, the hunters hesitated, unwilling to follow into the precarious heights. Taza glanced back, eyes sharp. We need to reach the stronghold, he said. There, we can protect what matters. Panting, Alina looked up at the ancient stone ruins partially hidden by vines and dust. The air around them hummed with power, and she felt an unexplainable connection to the place. Inside the stronghold, they moved quickly, barricading the entrance as best they could. Taza pressed his palm against a carved symbol on the wall. The spirits are watching, he whispered. We have their strength. The hunters shouted below, frustrated by the impasse. But for now, the sacred ground was safe. Alina sank to the stone floor, breathing heavily. The map lay beside her, bloodstains seeming to pulse softly in the dim light. "Why did my grandmother leave this to me?" she asked, voice trembling. Taza looked at her with something like hope. "Because she knew you would need to be ready." Inside the stronghold's ancient stone walls, Alina felt the weight of history pressing down on her. The air was cooler here, filled with the faint scent of sage and earth. The carvings on the walls told stories of warriors, sacrifices, and promises made long ago. She ran her fingers over the etched symbols. The same spirals and arrowheads that had marked the map. Taddas moved beside her, his expression grave but steady. "This place holds our ancestors' wisdom. The map is not just a guide, it's a test." Alina glanced at him, curiosity sparking behind the fear. "A test?" "Yes, to see if the seeker is worthy of the knowledge and protection the stronghold offers. Your grandmother passed the test, and now it's your turn." She took a deep breath. "What do I need to do?" He pointed to a large stone door, carved with a great spiral that pulsed faintly under their touch. "You must enter alone and face what lies within." Her heart thundered. "Alone?" Taza nodded. "The spirits will judge you. Only you can prove your intentions." Swallowing her fear, Alina stepped forward and pushed the heavy door. It creaked open, revealing a dim chamber lit by shafts of fading sunlight. The walls were covered in more carvings, and in the center sat a stone altar with a small wooden box. Alina approached cautiously and lifted the lid. Inside were relics, a feathered headdress, a weathered journal, and a necklace identical to the one her grandmother wore. She opened the journal, its pages fragile but legible. As she read, the story unfolded a tale of a forbidden love between her grandmother and a warrior named Taz's ancestor, a pact to protect the land, and a warning to those who would seek to exploit it. Tears welled in her eyes. The map suddenly made sense. It was a symbol of sacrifice and love, bound together across generations. A sudden warmth enveloped her, and she felt a presence behind her. Turning, she found Taza watching quietly. "You have passed," he said, softly. "The stronghold accepts you." Alina smiled through tears. "I'm ready." Emerging from the chamber, Alina felt a newfound strength coursing through her veins. The weight of the past had lifted, replaced by a deep connection to the land, to her grandmother, and to Taza. Outside, the sun was rising, casting golden light across the stronghold. The hunters who had chased them the night before were gone, vanished as mysteriously as they had appeared. Taza stood beside her, his eyes reflecting both relief and resolve. "You have the choice now," he said quietly. "You can leave this place behind or become its guardian protector of its secrets and spirit." Alina looked down at the necklace from the altar, feeling its cool weight against her palm. It was more than a relic. It was a symbol of trust, of a legacy passed down to her. "I want to protect it," she said firmly. "For my grandmother, for the land, and for everyone who believes in what this stronghold stands for." Taza nodded, a faint smile breaking his stoic expression. "Then you are ready. Together, we will ensure this sacred place remains safe." As they stood overlooking the vast desert below, Alina knew her life had changed forever. The bloodstained map was not just a guide, it was a call to honor, courage, and a bond that time could not break, and she would answer it.